Meeting of the Sherman County Commissioners come to order, please. First on the agenda is public forum. If anyone has anything they want to bring up. Come to the microphone or sit down up here.
I'll sit down. I'm here about 57 down there by my pasture where my fence is falling in a ditch. In 1915, there was a petition filed. If you guys want to look at this, you can. There was a petition filed to open that road from the county line to the Golden Belt Highway, which would be 8th Street. And from what I could pick up from the filings, they opened up 50 feet. And the fence, my fence was put in there in 1915, as close as I can figure. And here, well, you remember when the county come in and fixed
Yeah,
part of it.
yeah, they come in and you had to move it in X number of feet and reset posts if I'm correct.
They joined me for all the steel posts I had, and they put steel posts and a few wood posts in it. And I guess there's a federal law that says that if you take more land, you have to move the fence back. But I would make your proposition that I would go ahead and pull back 10 feet because you aren't gonna move the power line and the fence on the state lake
No?
if you guys would furnish the post to do it.
Okay.
And there's a lot of history down there in that country where the county surveyor, I've got a sheet here where he surveyed that road all that way up there. And the next year, there was a yellow notebook paper in your file here. There were about 50 people that filed a deal trying to change the ruling, and there's nothing in the notes or anything that says anything happened. But
Well, you mind if I see that? I'll still listen, too, so, if you don't mind. Thank you, sir.
But I'm gonna have to do something with the fence. If you guys would furnish a post, I go back 10 feet so you don't have to worry about the west side of the road. And part of the problem was is the last time 27 was surveyed down there, they found a lot of these discrepancies. And the old surveyor on the job saw what the mess was, took a job somewhere else in the state. And the one that come in that they sent in, he just threw up his hands and walked away, really. But the county surveyor at that time loved a chain. He drug that chain so far that it was wore out so much and so much longer that what these surveyors found when they did 27 the last time was that chain in a mile would measure about 13 feet long. And so Road 57 is all screwed up down through there because he went through and chained that. And I think that's why all the petition came, because he was changing Road 17 all the way up to 8th Street. And so I guess with that in mind, I'd be willing to move back 10 feet because of the way they're blading that road, the water all goes down the shoulder of the road and washes it all down into the bottom part of the garden. And to get into my pasture there's about a foot drop, and there's a culvert there, but the way they blade the road, the water never goes to the ditch and down the culvert. So that's my first issue.
Okay,
My second issue is you've got a terrible lot of musk thistle on the southeast corner of the Smoky Garden. And I talked to the boy down there, I need to call Roder probably, but he didn't know what he could do about it. And so I thought while I was here, I'd talk to you about that.
So this is on the corner as you go into the Smoky or in the old hayfield there?
Southeast corner.
So in the hayfield?
Clear over to the east side, yeah, clear over to, there's some scattered all through the hayfield, but over to the east side there's a big patch. And
Okay.
We can spray that, can't we?
my best
Yeah.
luck on musk thistle is taking a shovel and cutting it off about an inch below the ground.
Yeah.
But spray will work, but it needs to be there pretty quick or it's gonna head out and blow stuff all over. I spent a lot of money on my ranch down there trying to get rid of the Canadian and the musk, and I think it originally started from the state lake not taking care of theirs.
Right. Yeah.
Well, does that spray hurt the hay at all down in there?
Depends on,
unless you go with Tordon or something like that, that's almost a sterilant to you, some of the other stuff.
tore down the thistle to come back for the grass. But there's a graze on, but if you do the graze on, then you're limited what you can do with the hay, but 2,4-D and band meal would whip it too. And then the third thing on my mind is, personally, I don't want to see Centura go to a new hospital because we won't have a birthing unit and we won't have a dialysis unit. And I'm pretty upset with Centura from the start. If you read the contract was all written to their benefit. And we give them $200,000 a year plus pay the guy's salary for 2 days a week. The first guy they sent in had a John Wayne complex and he was gonna build a hospital out on the interstate and take all of Colby's business away. We know that wasn't gonna happen. And the second guy come in, fired our 2 good ladies. Second week he was there, he terminated all the doctors' contracts, not realizing how hard it is to get a doctor in a rural community like this. And would not go negotiate with the girls. He did with Dr. Days, which was to our definite benefit. The third guy that come in closed down dialysis. And it was as simple as getting people there that we could train ourselves. But it's kind of hard to fault him too much where we're only having 2 days a week. But with his salary and the $200,000 we pay to Centura, we can put $250,000 an administrator up there that'd be here full time. And so I'm pretty anti-Centura or whatever they're called now. And just hate to see that happen because, you know, we don't need a feasibility study to know what we need. We need somebody that will sit down with our providers and our staff up there and decide what we want for Dillon. If we want a birthing unit, we ought to have a birthing unit. If we want a dialysis, we ought to have a dialysis. The hospital board and the staff up there went to the Department of Commerce and got a grant and raised over $400,000 for that dialysis unit. And there's no excuse. If we had a full-time CEO, we'd probably have it. And we'd probably have the birthing unit. So I'm not happy with Wellness Center to build a hospital. We need a wellness center as much as we need a hospital. And a lot of that hospital could be redone and we could add a wing onto it. And there's also, if we split the administration off of that when we built a new hospital, that does not have to be to the same standards as a hospital does. We could probably build it for maybe as 25% of what it costs to build a hospital. So I've said my piece.
Harlan, I have more, you've been on both boards. You've been on the hospital board and you've been on this board.
No, I haven't been on
Oh,
this
you,
board.
you have not,
No.
okay, I apologize for that, I thought you had,
No.
but who initiates that contract? Does that come from the hospital board or the county commissioner?
Yeah.
So, that board has to be convinced to break that contract, and my understanding, they can do that in 90 days, is that correct?
It's just a period of time. I would hate to say it was 90 days without looking at the contract.
But
I
that,
do have a copy of the original contract, but there've been some additions, and the original contract said that they would follow all of the hospital's bylaws. And the things that they didn't want to follow, they took to the board and changed the bylaws. So the bylaws are different than what they were when they signed the contract.
Have you met with the hospital board lately?
Not lately. We met with them when they took the dialysis out, and the administrator didn't show up to the meeting. And there was a lot of discussion at the meeting.
I understand he's on temporary leave and they have an interim director right now.
He came to Lions Club and misrepresented what his position was there. I don't like to be lied to.
Well, I would suggest you meet with the hospital board again.
there's a lot of people in the community that feel the very same way. Very
Oh, I
same.
know. There's that many people there. That,
Yeah.
and I mean, you guys appoint the hospital board, and then you're kind of out of it, but they still answer to you. And maybe you need to look at, I mean, I think we got a lot on the hospital board that are really concerned about the way people are treated and that. But we don't have a lot on there that really have a lot of financial. And when I was on the board, felt like a mushroom. And when Tony Thompson fired Jim Preck the first month that he was there, I knew we were screwed. And I'm frustrated because I worked my butt off and did my homework and
Yeah.
couldn't get him to listen. We paid Siemens $750,000 for something they didn't do. And the board made the motion. I argued against it, but being the chair, I didn't vote, so it was an 8-0 vote to give them $750,000. And the agreement was that they would go ahead. There's a set of records at the hospital that has got no index or no organization. There's boxes with receipts and stuff in it. But the deal was when they gave them the $750,000, they were supposed to do that. They took the $750,000 and walked.
Now, who were these people?
Siemens,
Siemens, they had the
work with the
IT
computer
contract.
program and
So,
I can't hear him.
can you slide that microphone closer to Harlan?
now that I've said most of what I wanted to say.
There you go.
So,
Well,
on the fence, let's take a look, see how many posts you think we're going to take.
the way they put that.
How many miles?
It's a half a mile.
Half a mile.
One every rod would be 160. One every 25 feet would be what? Be a little less.
Okay.
I'd like to have Brett look into the legalities of what he's talked about with the surveyors
agree.
and all that. So,
You're the winner.
I'm not opposed to providing the vote.
Like Rod said, we'll see what the legality is, you provided all posts last time you did it. And,
Yeah, but they weren't fence makers. They did, you know, they got me by, but
Okay.
that south 80 rods is probably 25% in the ditch already.
okay,
But you're gonna have to have some more dirt there to ever bring that road back up. So that'd give you, probably if it stayed back 4 feet from my fence, that'd give you 6 feet of dirt there and
work with,
do something to get that water in the ditch.
okay.
We might have to have Rod and Penco out there,
Go out, take a look
look
at
at
it.
it,
Okay,
yep. See what,
that works for
he
me.
can, he can handle the legal side of it and see what all's what.
There's some more records in there. From 17 north of the Garden, or Road 54, up to 57 and over to the highway in 1948 was widened. And I know that you've got the papers back here in the files, and my granddad and grandmother were the first two signatures on it, and Carl Murray carried the petition. So it's back there what happened.
Okay,
Okay,
very good.
we will see what we can look into and see what Mr. Brett comes up with, and he's got a
Okay.
frown on his forehead, we're looking there already, so.
Oh, give your hospital hell. Your hospital board
If you need
hell.
some people together to go to the board, the hospital board, I would sure do that.
Okay,
Okay, because I know there's a lot of concerns there.
well, yeah. It's been hard to get their hired guns to really be serious about Sherman County. And
Anytime you bring
It's
people in, anytime you bring people in from the outside and they don't know the culture, they don't know the history here, and they're not willing to learn it, then, yeah, you got a battle.
well,
Sometimes it's smooth,
basically,
sometimes not.
Centura pays the CEO. And then the hospital board reimburses them for 2 days. And 2 days at Atwood, and
Yeah,
I understood that they took on Burlington as well, but I don't know. But their MO is to come in and make it a emergency room and ship everybody out. And I'm upset with Centura over that deal too, and I've talked to the head of Centura about it. The airport they fly them into is 10 minutes from Centura's facility at Parker. But they still insist on putting them in an ambulance and hauling them clear over to the west side of Denver. That's wrong. I lost a hired man because they took out on the highway instead of taking him to Parker. And they lost him on the way. They had to stop at another hospital because they lost him on the way. And it's just wrong. And I've talked to Heather, and she says she can never get anything into Parker either. Whenever she wants to send somebody out there, she says, they say Parker's full. But it looks to me like they're trying to fund an ambulance. And if they do it with Hugo and everybody else, they've got a deal. And another thing, Centura's got a really bad reputation when they come into a hospital. When they come into a hospital, they're gonna have 15–20% of the people just look for another place, that quick. And I'm familiar with people that use the Great Bend Hospital. I'm familiar with people who use the Garden City Hospital. The Garden City people go to Macon. They don't go to Garden City, the ones that come in that area. And Great Bend, they've got a bad reputation. I mean, the counties around there are kind of close to going to Great Bend, and they don't like Great Bend at all. I mean, it's a big area, so
Now, you did know that they did split off, so it's not really Centurion.
yeah, I know.
And another name there, but basically the same
It's
people.
Center, it's the same outfit,
Same outfit.
yeah. So, okay,
Thank you,
All
Harlan.
right.
Thank you. John.
well, thank you. Listen to cranky old man.
You gentlemen here for the Warlock?
I'm here for moral support.
Okay. Mouse in his pocket, huh?
Morning.
Good morning.
So the other day, a few of us who are heavily involved with the Warlock building, so emergency management, EMS, fire, KU, that also utilizes the building, and IT. We invited Harvey to come sit in just to give us any feedback and then what we could do to propose and to bring ideas to the full commission. It's been talked about and a lot of us agree, and I'm sure we're going to get kickback, is taking future use from the public away from the Warlock building. And the reason, if you ask why, is because we would like to beef up our training facility in there. Ryan, even though he's not here, he is at another meeting. Ashley can attest to some of this. But he even has a lot of equipment that he would like to set up more. But we're talking a lot of money. And to have public coming in and out of the building, and if we don't have a place to store it, we'd like to actually hard mount a lot of stuff on walls and make it a really nice training facility for not just EMS and fire and EM, but when if it ever gets activated as an EOC, everything's ready to go. And then basically making the building for Sherman County only. So road and bridge would be allowed to come down and do trainings, health department, anything that's county related, you could still utilize the building. But as far as birthday parties, graduation parties, stuff like that, a lot of us would like to kind of maybe see that go away. And I know it's going to probably put some sour eyes in the public a little bit, but I think they need to realize that its intent is for fire and emergency services, and we got a lot of stuff that we'd like to do in there, and maybe even do some remodeling down the road. So Harvey thought maybe it'd be a good idea. This is where we start maybe kicking the can down the road a little bit, and maybe even work on the city as far as the agreement between the county and the city fully taking over this building.
I already proposed that to the city at one point for them to think about.
And I thought they were kind of in favor of doing that, Rod, didn't you, when we were at that joint meeting?
I did.
I do know that the building use changes over time, and their need is much bigger than it has been. And we did talk about the public use, and we do have 2 contracts for graduation for next year. But there's other facilities that we have that the public can use other than this particular building.
Right.
And I do know that we do need to meet the goals or the needs of our community, but one of those needs is our fire department or
Training facility, yeah.
EMS, and has a good facility. And that's why I thought we'd come here and plant the seed. We don't have to really make a decision today, and invite the public at our next meeting to come in if they have concerns, if they have other comments, to come in and talk to us about it. But
We do get, Eric had pulled some numbers, because we do charge to use a room, and so I wanted to see what those numbers were, and roughly we're around $800 to $1,000 a year is all we make on that equipment.
Yeah.
So, and then you gotta realize too, we have full-time EMS staff there that sleep and try to rest and do stuff, and when there's events going on, that disrupts their
Yeah.
activities as well.
I think we need to revisit this with the city commission and try to get a firm yay or nay on this deal.
on the public use, now we as a county though control the use of that building, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we kind of need to address that, but also know because there's going to be some remodeling that needs to be done in there, and if the county's going to put that money in there, then we really need to own that building.
I fully agree. Couldn't agree more. I think we should set up a meeting Just hash that out,
Just set up a meeting for talking about the Woolock building.
just for that, yeah. That would be my suggestion.
Okay.
We did talk, so you know, we did talk about the voting, and we thought there would still be room in there, even after some of the thoughts on remodeling, they could still do the voting in that building. But that's kind of a county
That's a county function,
function, so.
right?
And, you know, after our little discussion we had the other day, we did, you know, even more of us kind of put our brains together. And there's multiple probably avenues we can go. And I know Eric can't defend for himself, maybe Cody a little bit, but there's been talk about maybe moving Eric or making adjustments wherever he can fit. And that would free up some room too. So we could look at different options if we want to do more of a remodel, you know, that's down the road, or if we can adjust some personnel inside of our building now to accommodate more things, you know. We have options to look at, but I think before we even go to that step, that's where I think we need to have the discussion with the public use and the building being, who's going to take over completely for the building, so.
Sounds reasonable to me. Sooner the better.
I agree.
So then I think we need to try setting up an agreement, or a meeting with the city council and talk about that. Because I know with all the educational stuff, them closets, them 2 rooms are pretty full.
No, we can't even get stuff in half the time, so. And really, we shouldn't be storing a lot of the electronic stuff in the mechanical room,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Covered it pretty good?
I think so. You guys have any other questions or concerns about that whole,
No, that's enough,
Process.
that's enough for now.
okay?
Said that we'll just encourage the public to come if they have concerns. Plan to see, we'll just go from there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, gentlemen. No one here from topside, or do they?
They're out there, they're waiting on one more.
We'll make a motion to accept the minutes from our last meeting.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to accept minutes from the last meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's passed.
Also,
I don't mean to complain, but I don't know if the people aren't talking into the microphone, but you can barely, you can barely hear.
We can't hear anything.
And, you know, and I know you guys. And so, I know when people talk into that microphone, you can hear them, but when they're up there, I mean, even Chris, he wasn't that loud.
can you hear that?
No, the
No.
speaker's not on. It's a separate system.
Find the code. Was there something that you needed clarified that you did not hear?
I didn't hear anything Hal said.
Yeah, you could barely,
None
I
of
could
us.
barely hear Harlan, and I was leaning in, you know, to hear what he had to
I
say.
know we talked about the hospital, the fence line, I don't know if the same fence line he talked about years ago.
They're at Road 57.
I'm not sure.
Erosion,
It's an
looking
erosion.
on that bank and,
Right on the county line?
well.
Is that far?
No,
No.
just,
From the Smoky up to Road 55.
Oh.
So would that be on 17 then?
Yes,
Just trying to clarify it for people.
yeah, about a half mile south of the Smoky Gardens up to Road, well, it's probably only 56,
yeah,
because Ernest
pretty much the top of the hill, I mean,
Yeah, well, a half mile.
yep.
What was the second thing? Because he said he had 3.
Had some weeds down there on the southeast part of the Smoky.
Must thistle.
Musk thistle and Canadian thistle.
Make a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $197,759.44 and $61,929.67.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to pay the bills. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same signs. Motion is passed. I signed it in the wrong spot.
I know, so.
I just wanted to mess you up a little bit.
Excuse me, so for clarification on that meeting about the roll-up building, you guys are gonna set up a public meeting on that?
Well, we'll have a public meeting here and probably open it up whenever we make a joint meeting with the city council.
Whenever we meet, we're public.
Right, yeah, I just didn't know if you were having like a.
Yeah, it'll just be a special, conversation about the Warlock Building membership. How that all works. Moving forward.
Where's the microphone on your guys' side?
Are you here? I was going the wrong direction on that road. I thought he was going
We're
south
done with that one anyway.
on Harlem.
That is.
That is
Oh,
so.
okay, so he was, okay, so
It
it
is
was
so.
on the right road.
Yeah. There's a hay field there and then there's his pasture.
Yeah.
And that's where it all starts.
Okay.
Actually, on this K-Camp deal, on this invoice, what, am I getting this right, that they're going up 20 to 25% on the premiums?
Where are you seeing it? Yes.
Okay. So it's 20 or 25% higher than it was last year, basically.
Let me see what we paid last year, hang on.
At the annual meeting, at the K-Camp annual meeting, they talked about that.
Yeah, I suppose.
This is all for our liability insurance and stuff like that on
Insurance, property liability and crime contributions.
Last year, we actually paid $168,871, so it actually went down.
Really? Okay.
But we've got depreciation on some of the line items.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we also know that the cost of buildings and the cost of equipment hasn't got any cheaper.
No. So when is this due, like,
We've already paid it.
okay,
That's just what shows, if you go on down further,
yep,
the spreadsheet part shows you the values on each property and each vehicle. And the
Okay.
description of where those are, that's why I sent it to you.
okay, yep.
Yeah, because you start adding up all the, like 10 road graders, scrapers, and then all the other, just at road and bridge, and then if I counted right, do you have 9 vehicles in the sheriff's department? Or is that, do you have 9 units? That's what I thought I counted on here for,
So the column that says contribution per location or contribution per item is how much we pay annually for that,
that piece of equipment.
or
Yeah.
the property. So it's pretty cheap, really.
Yes.
While we're waiting, since we already paid it, actually, you sent a deal on the credit card
Yeah,
that was maxed out.
yeah.
Is that a common occurrence type deal? And we just paid that, right? We just approved. to
Yeah,
pay
it's
that
in
bill.
today's. It's not a common occurrence. We had some sizable items that were purchased, books, repair items, and equipment that were bought through the card and probably should have been,
Purchase order.
yeah, through directly to the vendor instead of on your card. So,
So are we talking about everybody having access to that card? Everybody has the same card?
it depends on the department. So like sheriff's office has them for people that do transports, deputies have them, even the office staff has them. Depends on the department, whether they have one per department and they send it with the people, but it is whoever signed up for that credit card's responsibility and liability for any charges that are on there. So if I loan it to somebody else, it's coming out of my check if there is a receipt.
Is that the card that we approved to have 3 for department?
For who?
For each department for emergency management? And we approved to have 3 cards for each department head? Is that the same card we're talking
No.
about? That's different.
I don't know what that was.
You see, like EMS has 2 or 3 cards, but they
EMS
check them
has-
out when they take
Not anymore, there's one in every truck.
every truck.
Basically, everything that can be direct billed should be.
Yes.
Okay. Ashley, what's the phone number for in here? Is it 450?
And everybody knows.
Or
4805.
4805, okay.
Everybody knows that thing should be direct bill.
That was a reminder that I put in the email, yep. Department heads. Now, it's their responsibility to tell their staff.
Is there any way to head that off? Because it really creates problems when I got transports, because they gotta use their personal funds. Or like I tried to mail off evidence yesterday, and just simple things like that, dog food.
The postage we can do here, we talked to Misty about that. I don't know why she was going there, but we could do the postage here. Dog food, yeah. It really is a very rare occurrence, so we can try to get the credit limit increased, it's 30,000, but over 20-some cards, that's not very much, so.
Yeah.
So if our sheriff wanted to buy something, does he call you or do you just use the card?
They just use a card.
But the problem is, like, I got guys on transport, and they gotta fill up, they gotta use their personal card, because our card gets declined at the sheriff's office. It's also embarrassing to them, to go into use it.
Then how many times has that happened? That we,
I can think of 3 times. Sometimes it's because they weren't paid in time or something like that, personal card, not their personal card, but the balance was too high on the card or whatever. But I know I've had like 3 different times that transport's been out and they've had to use their personal card. They don't have the funds, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I mean, that's asking a lot for them to spend, drop $100 on
Yeah.
transport.
So the only other alternative to this is you'd have to use more than one card carrier, more than one company. Right?
Yes and no, so fuel, you guys have the WEX fuel cards you could use for fuel. That would be another
For
option.
For local,
Nope, you can use them at any WEX.
I
Don't have them.
don't have any fuel cards.
Okay, well, you should. The new ones, you can, EMS has those and You can use them anywhere. So they use that for their fuel, so that cut down on our credit limit. So EMS only uses it for meals.
When did you, so we have a co-op fuel card and then we have our, we call it our first bank card, the credit.
That's
card.
what, yeah, First
Yeah.
Bank.
Do we have a need to increase the credit limit?
I don't know. I think we need to make sure that, you know, anytime we can use a purchase order, it's a lot better to have that, to watch some items. And like the mailings and stuff, bring it over here, we can do postage. Okay. Top side ready to go, or?
She said this number does not work. It says it's been disconnected.
So that would have.
Can they call out there and then you transfer them? She's gonna call in there and then transfer it here.
So what number is that?
4806.
The deal about the postage, when we're mailing evidence, it has to be given directly to the post office personnel. Otherwise, I have to have more of the ECR, and I don't know who's gonna be touching it in here. Because I have to say, the evidence goes from my hands to the hands of the postal service.
Well, I think we can solve some of our problems just by doing certain things to reduce the amount of, if just on the fuel card alone, by the time you guys fuel up, you know, that adds a lot of $100 bills real quick. So let's see how we progress with getting new fuel cards and you know, there's always hiccups in the road. We got a phone call coming in, maybe?
Maybe.
Green button.
Hello,
Hi, this is Brooke Livingston. How are you guys?
good. You're on the speakerphone?
Okay, so we're good to start?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, this is Brooke Livingston talking now. I've got Becky Peters, my colleague, as well as Fernando. We're all on the line here. And they're gonna start the presentation, but I just did first want to preface, we had a nice little thing roll ready for you guys, proposal, and we're just doing it a little differently. So hopefully over the phone is okay, but of course, any questions you guys have, just interrupt us so we can answer those. And yeah, and I do apologize if it sounds like my voice is a little odd sounding. My youngest one went to daycare this week, and of course, I've already caught something from him. So my voice might be a little weak, so I'll let Becky and Fernando do a more majority of the talking. But everyone's all there and all good to go?
Yes, we're ready.
All righty, sounds good, Fernando. Becky, I'll let you guys kick it off.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for your time. I know we had a brief conversation last week around our services, and really what we just wanted to come back and kind of give you a synopsis of why we're here. Ultimately, the goal is just to provide the county in itself a little bit of stability long-term and transparency and some security and protection around anything that could come its way. And that's the same for any private business as it is for a city or a municipality on our end. So our goal is just to look at things holistically, to figure out where you guys are and meet you where you are from a technology and payroll and HR infrastructure standpoint. So as you mentioned, Rod, I think on our call last week, you may not be the elected official, next time around. So it's how do we provide the stability through everything from an HR standpoint, a people standpoint, so that everyone is protected. And that means from a security standpoint, from a payroll standpoint, from an operations standpoint, and just creating some standard operating procedures through technology to create an audit trail for anything that we may need, to create standard operating procedures for anything that we may need, so that we can ultimately set you guys up for success. We'll just say tomorrow, but 6 months from now, 12 months from now, 2, 3, 4 years from now. So that's ultimately the goal through the dedicated support team that we would provide for you guys, which includes anything from what we at ADP consider HR. So that's an HR business partner that can help with compliance, regulatory issues, audit concerns, training and development, to payroll support, benefit support, risk and safety support, and everything from then on as well. The technology plays a part of that because we want to give you guys visibility into everything in terms of, like I just mentioned, HR. So with that, you'll have the technology, and that's where we would essentially give you the support team to help process payroll on that end too, but also track everything from a regulatory and compliance standpoint so that we can track to say, oh, Fernando completed his training and development courses. I can go back and see that those were completed on 1/1. And those are things that your HR business partner will build a relationship with you guys on to understand your goals and initiatives, to then align the technology from an HR, people standpoint, support standpoint, to ensure that whatever your priorities are the priorities that we're taking on as well. I'm going to pause there because it's hard with no visuals. Just want to answer any questions, or Becky, is there anything that you would want to add?
No, I think it's good to open the floor for questions, and then we can kind of go from there.
You guys got anything?
No, when we talked the other day a little bit, we'll set it up to where we can, you can get in and see our payroll, adjust, see everything and see if there's any inconsistencies or anything like that, along with the assistance of HR to give us more insight into what's going on, how we can better our employees. So it sounds a good situation.
There is,
Yeah, absolutely.
Brooke,
I
Eric,
will say also, just to that point, you have the opportunity to do what's called an audit comparison. So the ability to compare one payroll to the last to look for any abnormalities or discrepancies. And then you also have the opportunity to launch and schedule out audit trail reporting, which is something Fernando had also mentioned. So you'll have one-to-one relationships with your payroll representative, that if there's additional custom reporting you all want to build out, or anything that you're needing to set up within the payroll functionality from like an access permission standpoint, they can work with you on that front as well.
there was one thing that Eric had said that CIC has the ability, or maybe there's a third party in there to do import. I wish I had can't find the email here. And there was an additional.
In regards to the general ledger, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, there was an additional cost to do that, and that's unknown right now. We don't know what that is. Trying to find the email, and I can't find it, of course. But anyway, that's the only unknown on our side of it. As far as what's cut and dry, I mean, it's fairly straightforward. I don't really have any questions or concerns.
And I think the big thing here too is that I know we've all chatted in the past, it's also, you switch to a system like ours, it's not only the mitigating the risk, it's the, setting up new standards and procedures, giving you guys eyesight into what the payroll looks like. If there is an anomaly from one payroll to the other, like Becky just touched on, when you have your bi-weekly meetings, you guys will have a sheet that you can look at and let's say, okay, 1 month, maybe the payroll was $125,000 out, and then the next it was $128,000. Where did that additional $3,000 come from?
Yeah.
I think that's the key thing here is when we look at this in the bigger, broader terms of things. But ultimately, too, it's not just from that standpoint. It's the HR standpoint. We all agree that we live in this world today where everyone is very sue happy, where everyone jumps to conclusions, and maybe we're a little more sensitive than we have been in the years past. That's where the HR and the compliance really comes in handy, because maybe you guys do find yourselves in a pickle, where someone's filing a lawsuit against you guys as an employer. And now all of a sudden you guys have to figure out, are we following the correct HR guidelines to do this, or are we compliant now that new legislation has rolled out? And that's another area where we're going to come up and be a partner with you guys. So really, rather than looking at us as a vendor, I always stress, try to look at us as much as a partner to just help better you guys moving forward. That all being said, I know that the initial quotes were sent out last week after we initially met, and there might have been a little bit of sticker shock. So I went back with the team here, and we have discussed pricing and whittling out things that maybe are not necessary for the county, given that you guys are out in Midlands, and I know how the operations work out there. There's certain maybe pallet bundles that we don't need to have on this quote. So we're able to whittle that down, and I'll have Becky and Fernando explain the new price breakdown and what it looks like from a 1-year contract to a 3-year contract.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Brooke. So, yeah, Becky and myself and Brooke, we all kind of sat down and talked, and we went to our leadership to figure out where, from a price standpoint, could we provide the best value. And ultimately, the partnership, right? Ultimately, the goal, I think, is long-term stability. For you guys, for the county, for any of the elected officials, to create those standard operating procedures and to set you guys up for a long-term strategy. But we did want to be transparent, like there's different options or opportunities from a cost standpoint. If this is something that we looked at on a 1-year service agreement, our cost is a little bit higher. So $68,483 is what we break out to annually. If I look at it as a longer term relationship where we start to build that, start to marry that together and continue the relationship on a longer term, it's about $10,000 less annually there. So it's about $58,715. And we'll send, obviously, since we don't have visuals, we'll send it all over to you guys for review. But that's going to give you all of the technology, all of the people support, all of the standard operating procedures, really anything that you guys could think of from a compliance, regulatory, payroll standpoint, like that is what this is set to give you. The only thing that we might, maybe from our conversation, Rod, the other day, and not something that maybe we take on as a priority today, we can still give you the support around how to run performance reviews, how to have more visibility into your employees. We may just not be doing those through the technology today.
Right.
Again, those are kind of what we would consider some of the add-on services. And so we wanted to remove those just from a budget standpoint and understanding your cost. Like you still have a talent team that can help support you on how to do all that, how to get more visibility around that, how to do it appropriately, where to document X, Y, Z. It's just not going to be within the ADP platform, so to say.
Okay. Yep.
I have no other questions at this time.
Harvey, you got anything?
Well, I was just kind of breaking down some of the things that they offer on that, and like a customized employment handbook, we already do that, don't we? Are you guys just going to be looking over our handbook? Or you break that down a little bit?
Yeah, so kind of twofold. We would ask for your guys' handbook, review it, make sure it's all compliant. If there's anything regulatory that would change, we would help let you know that we have things that might need to be updated. That's something that through the system, as a new employee comes on, we'd look for either an electronic signature so that you can then track back that within their own profile, so that if something happens within that handbook, right, or someone breaks a rule, that we could track that. Oh, Becky broke that rule. She had signed off on her handbook on 1/1. So now we have an audit trail kind of to that point in that regard to have a conversation with our HR business partner to say, how do we properly terminate this employee and what are the steps that we need to take to make sure we do it appropriately. So it's kind of twofold. We'll review it, make sure it's all up to date, make sure it's all compliant, but we'll just take exactly what you had. If you didn't have something or you wanted to start fresh and start new, that's something that we would also help do on your guys' behalf.
How often do you report to us? Just when we ask you, or do you have Monthly, semi-annual? How often do you report this?
Really good question. So it's really as often as you guys would want to have those connects, you can have those connects with your HR business partners. Generally, we tend to have larger quarterly sessions with you all where we do a full review of everything. But that does not take away that I've had groups that meet with their HR business partner weekly, or groups that meet with them bi-weekly or on a monthly basis. So it really depends on what you guys are wanting to do and achieve, and you start to build that relationship with your HR business partner. So I would say at a minimum it's going to be quarterly, but again, it can be as kind of as often as you guys want to have those conversations with them.
If you looking at our payroll, do you see something that doesn't look right? Do you contact us and say, hey, we have this, or do you just wait till we contact you with questions?
So you'll have a dedicated payroll rep that you guys can have in contact with to say, hey, we'd like to review some of these payroll reports, or we'd like to make sure that there's no anomalies. That's one thing with your HR business partner. If that's a priority for you guys to review, then that's something he or she can review for you guys on a bi-weekly basis to ensure that there's no anomalies, that nothing looks out of the normal. And then through the system, say we do find something that looks like an anomaly, then we can go back and pull an audit trail to see where did it come from, what does it look like. Does it just look like an anomaly because maybe there were bonuses paid, and then we could go back and verify that bonuses were paid to the correct employee, things of that nature. So it can be proactive in terms of your HR business partner could be aware that that's a priority for you guys. And so we can do all of those pieces for you guys and then notify whoever needs to be notified at that point. If that's the 3 commissioners, if that's whoever it is, those are things that we can take on.
You also work with our local hospital, is that correct?
I can be on that is correct.
What other businesses in Goodland do you work with other than that?
Frontier Ag, and then also the school district. Now keep in mind, some of them use different variations of our system, and what I mean by that is at ADP, there's really 3 different flavors. So there's the one that we're talking about right now that comes with the dedicated people, the HR support, the dedicated resources. Another flavor is the just basic self-service flavor. So that means like, kind of like, think of like a QuickBooks, Harvey. You know how people just download the system, they learn how to operate it, and that's how they utilize it. And then the third one is the PEO, and what that stands for is Professional Employer Organization. And that's more so for businesses you guys wouldn't qualify for because you're a government entity. So that's for businesses that want to take advantage of size and scale for health benefits, workers' comp insurance, and EPLI policies. So that one has always been off the table for you guys just since you're a government entity, and when there's federal funding involved, we can't work with you on that. So what we're talking about specifically is the comprehensive model. And that's where, and it is a contracted model, and the reason why is because you do get the dedicated people, like the HR business partner that Fernando keeps talking about. That's something that these other entities in town I don't believe have at their disposal where you guys would. And the reason is that just gives you guys a little more security, especially when you're ramping up. So one of the things that I discussed in our last meeting is, even if you guys came on board for a 1-year contract, you got everything figured out, got the system under wraps, and you felt like, okay, I feel like we're in a good place. We can always whittle you down to that self-service model, or if you guys wanted to keep with the dedicated resource model because you needed the HR support, let's say. Because I know, like today, for example, Ashley is in office. We have Maria, who's also there with you guys. But if, let's say a year from now, 2 years from now, you have someone different in there, are they going to have the HR guidance and everything that they need in order to feel like they're able to support the county and the 138 employees that you guys currently pay today? Because that's also what we're quoting this quote off of, is 138 employees. So another thing to keep in mind is the price will fluctuate. It will go down the less employees you pay. So if right now we're in a seasonal shift where we're paying more people, it's going to be a little more costly. If we get into the fall, winter months and we're only paying 85 people, that cost is going to go down.
I'm kind of looking at this as an additional blanket of security, on the Sherman County financial system. moving forward. You guys know I won't be here after the first of the year. Somebody else will be sitting here. Harvey, you will be here for sure. Steve?
Don't know.
You don't know. So I think it would be foolhardy not to say, let's try the 1 year deal. I know it's cost a little bit more, but is it a good fit? That gives you an opportunity to see how it works, right? You don't have to worry about trying to budget for a 3-year contract right away. You may not need to do that if you're not satisfied with the services. Give it a try. Another thing we got to remember, part or all of this can be paid for this year with ARPA funds. Won't cost the taxpayers a dime for us to see if this is a good fit for the county. That's the things to consider, and that would be my suggestion.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. The 1 year will give us a good look, and using the ARPA funds, we don't have to fit into any budget constraints or anything like that, and that would give us a great opportunity. This would go from, say, July 1 through July 1 of 2025, is that correct?
Yeah, it would go from when we would be able to transition your payroll from where
Okay.
it's at today to where we are generally. I would say that's about a 6-week time frame from when you give us a yes and a signed agreement. And we collect a handful of documents from you guys. So when we actually process your first payroll in ADP, so July 1 would be maybe pushing it to get everything and
Yeah.
get it all started. But call it maybe August 1st
Okay,
to August 1st of next year. I think that would be a realistic time frame for us. You still get, so if you give us a green light today, or just to give you an example, you do get access to your HR business partner and team to start having some of those conversations. We will just be working on building out your system for Sherman County so that it's exactly the way that we need it to actually process your payroll and start to review. So to give you a little bit of an idea, I would say probably closer to 8/1 to 8/1 in next year.
okay.
Good.
I think it'd be a great opportunity to provide us with some information.
Yep.
And like you said, there's no cost to the taxpayers not having to come out of any certain budget. So.
Yeah, and like Brooke said, right, we can look at this as a 1 year, as you guys are talking about, see if we find the value of the team, the support, which I think there'll be a lot, right? Just visibility and transparency into everything from that standpoint.
Right.
But then you guys can decide, I would say 10, 11 months from now, decide, do we want to just re-up for another 1 year? Do we want to look at a longer term? And you're, to be fair, kind of back at the negotiating table. We obviously did everything we could for this go around, but you'll be in the same place next year to say, hey, where can you go from a budget standpoint? Can you match where we were last year? Can we do better? And like Brooke said, the one thing to keep in mind is that cost can fluctuate. And in your guys' case, what we would want to do probably is pull a year-to-date report in terms of payroll, which we would need, and audit to ensure all of those employees are employees that we should be paying, or maybe we had a few people that aren't on the payroll anymore, or we have some seasonal or temporary. So if we're only paying 90 people, that cost is also going to decrease. If we're paying 100 people, it's going to be less than what it is at 138 employees, which is what we had you guys listed at, right? So that's something that can be a moving target month to month. And as we're adding employees and removing employees, there'll also be an audit trail that we can keep an eye on, make sure how many new hires did we have this month, where are they, what department are they, et cetera, so that we can keep an eye on anywhere that we may be seeing some fluctuations as well.
Okay. So how soon would you start, would we need to start sharing data with you guys in order to get something set up and running? Would that start right away?
As soon as you guys are ready, all we would do is, I know we've sent you, I think, the separate agreements, not the updated ones. I'm not sure we got those over to you guys yet. So all we need is a signature link on the 1-year agreement, and I'll send over a list of the other handful of documents. Once I have the agreement and those documents, I submit it on my end, and then we generally takes truthfully about 5 days or a business week for us to get a team assigned. And then once that team is assigned, we have a kickoff call with whoever you want involved as a part of this. And then we start getting the information to start to build out your payroll under the ADP side of things to make the transition happen.
Okay.
So if you tell us yes today, then we can get the agreement and the 4 or 5 pieces of documents that we need on our end. We'll get it submitted, and then we'll get a team assigned probably towards the tail end of next week or early the following week to really kind of begin and dive in.
Yes, we would want that sent to our attorney for him to review.
Sure.
That'd be step 1.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay.
And another thing too, I just want to make sure that you guys understand is, so let's say whatever price you guys are comfortable with, we go with that one. Again, we don't bill until that first payroll runs. And when we do bill, it's not as if you owe that upfront cost right away. It's broken out over the year. So that's another thing too, just to kind of help you guys understand how it'll work.
Okay.
But the biggest thing is there is no charge until that first payroll runs.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I would make a motion that we enter into a 1-year agreement pending approval of our attorney with ADP.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. We enter into a 1-year agreement with ADT. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's passed, so you've got the green light to get our attorney the paperwork, and let's get the ball rolling.
Perfect. We will get that over to you guys today. Is there anyone in particular you want us to send that to, and you can forward over to your attorney, or do you want us to send it to your attorney?
Send it to Ashley, and she will forward to whoever needs.
Okay, perfect. We will do that. I'll also attach, or we will attach the other additional pieces that we would collect from you guys as well. And just so you can see that. And then, like I said, once your attorney reads over it, gives us the green light, you guys just electronically sign it. Does it matter whose name is under the agreement? Rod, I had your name just because that's who we had, that's who we connected with last week, but does it matter who signs off on that agreement?
I would suggest chairman.
Chairman.
And how many signatures are needed?
Just one signature is needed.
I'd say the chairman can sign it.
So I can sign whenever we get a contract in front of us.
Perfect. We will get it over to Ashley today, so that she can forward over to your attorney. In that same email, I will attach this e-signature link. And honestly, the reason they prefer e-signature is because it is trackable and auditable, rather than me being able to sign off an agreement and uploading that.
Yep.
So I'll attach that, as well as the handful of pieces that we need on our end. Once you guys get the green light from your attorney and you sign off on that, we will upload that, submit it on our end, and then get in touch with you guys for a kickoff for the project, and then get started on going that way.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you
Perfect.
guys. And as always, you all have my cell phone number if anything pops up, any questions, and so always here for you guys if you need anything.
All
Okay.
right. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. Got the ball rolling on that one. Top side.
Good morning. I want to introduce our new administrator, Daphne McGuire. She is with Grace Team, and she is has been the administrator at Cheyenne County Villages in St. Francis.
Okay.
She is also the administrator here, and she is, I'll let her explain. So,
Well, yes, I'm Daphne McTagg. I've been in long-term care off and on since 2018, but I've been in the healthcare field for a while. I served as a nurse in the Navy, and that's how I got started with aging services. Left the Navy, started in with Good Sam in Minneapolis as a social worker, so I've kind of been in all aspects of long-term care. Grew up in Ellsworth, but I'm very excited to be over here in Western Kansas. It's a whole different beast. I'm still getting used to the wind, but I'm very excited to be part of Topside. We're at the forefront of aging services with our small home design, and very, very excited to work in that beautiful brand new building. So,
Yeah, welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard. Ron's coming up.
Well, I gotta apologize for had a very senior moment this morning, so I'm really qualified to talk to you about this today. So. Anyway, well, I know you guys are getting ready for your budget, and we're here to ask if we can get a raise. From what I could tell, when Good Samaritan Center was first, you guys were, I think they were probably getting that $50,000 like we are today. I don't know that for sure, but I think as far back as I could trace it. Some may be off on that, which I've been before. I've been off. I've been wrong a few times in my life. But anyway, so I go back to 1962. You know, a farm labor guy got paid about $1 an hour. You could eat a hamburger for a nickel. The average teacher salary was around $3,000 a year. And we had no technology to pay for, like you guys were talking here today. You know, I mean, technology is just, so our costs have really increased. I think, you know, in 40 years or whatever it's been. And I think we're doing a really good job at Topside, but I mean, it's tough. It is tough to make everything. We're pushing it every day. You know, we need some help, I think, to get everything to just kind of flow a little bit easier up there. I don't know what the right amount is to ask for. If I went with inflation, instead of 50,000, we'd probably need 700,000. I mean, if you got the dollars the same, we don't need 700,000, but we could sure use more than the 50 that we've been getting every year. And I'd just like to see if we could get something fit into the budget. Would you guys agree?
Like Ron said, you know, that 50,000's been constant for over 50 years, and we'd like for you to see if you guys can look at that and see if you guys could work a higher number in there. So,
What's Cheyenne County's arrangements up there with the county?
we get $300,000 a year from the county.
Is that all?
We also, just so you guys kind of see how that, we also have an independent living, 9 units, and a 15-bed assisted living. So we are a little bit more, but if you do a bed-for-bed comparison, we're the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
At this time, how many agency nurses do you still have to employ, or you getting?
Topside, so we are still struggling getting our nurses in there. We are working on scholarship opportunities with the Kansas Board of Regents, where we basically pay 50-50. That helps us attract new nurses. Every time we have graduates come through, we're waiting for those boards to come through so we can pounce on some of the new baby nurses. Night shift is our hardest to fill. It's basically all agency except for 2 nights a week. And when you're looking at nurse wages for agency, they start at $57 an hour. So it's more than even the $50,000 a year to just employ one agency. And that's not including our aides, which are, gosh, 9, 18, about 24 aides a day that we have to employ for SAFE. Medicaid, CMS, they are trying to change staffing, where right now they only require us to have an RN in the building 8 hours or 40 hours a week. CMS and the Biden administration has changed the rule requiring us to have a registered nurse 24/7. So you can imagine the cost inflation for a small rural home. Are there waivers we can apply for? Absolutely. Does Kansas have that waiver process in place? Of course not. So we're a little bit scared what's going to happen come July 1st.
Okay.
we do have a CNA class.
We do. We work with We Care Online, a huge certified nurse aide and other course thing throughout the nation. We have a course starting June 9th or 11th, I can't remember that date, and we have 6 local people signed up to become certified nurse aides. So hopefully they stick around and participate and stay with us full time. So I'm optimistic. We also have a new director of nursing. We actually stole her from a nursing agency. So the price of the wages we can offer and what agency actually pays off, they're getting closer and closer together. So people are seeing the positives of staying in one local home rather than traveling all over the state. So
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say that probably RN salaries have increased almost double in the last 3
tenfold,
years?
absolutely.
Just in 2 or 3 years, they've probably
yeah.
over doubled.
I'm sure.
It's crazy.
And our rates that we charge residents is capped by what Medicare allows.
Right.
And it may or may not be what it costs for us to actually run.
And we only know what that rate's gonna be every 6 months. They change it on us every 6 months. So maybe, just for easy math in my head, maybe January through June 30th or whatever is gonna be $100 a day. But then they might pull the wool from right underneath us and it might go down to $80 a day, but we still have to feed and home our residents with 20% less, so
Yeah.
it's a wild card.
It's a tough business. So Steve, if you win the lottery, don't invest in a rest home. Just don't do that.
Invest in ours.
Just give you a
but-
donation too.
Yeah, you give us donation, but just don't.
Can I borrow a couple of bucks so I can go buy a lottery ticket? So,
I mean, it's amazing to me that when we started this process, you know, we thought what our break even would be 5 years ago, and then the costs have just blown up. They've just blown up, and
I think 37 was our break even, and now it's 43.
yeah, it's just crazy.
There are some rest homes for profit who can charge more for the private pay over the Medicare rate. Our philosophy in Sherman County is to not do that. We try to keep our private pay
Right.
equivalent to,
very, very close to what the Medicare rate is. So we don't make it up on our private pay.
Right.
In fact, there's been a few times we've been, private pay's been less than Medicaid.
Yeah.
So are you pretty well meeting your budget now? I mean, last time we talked to you, you were like $50,000 short or something like that.
It varies from month to month. Some months we may make a little bit, and then we take it one step ahead, then 2 steps behind. You know, it varies on how many people we have in the home, and then some other costs. And I mean, it just nip and tuck all the time.
Are you full right now?
We are not. Summer months are slower, but then when it gets, cold and icy, that's when they want mom somewhere safe, and you see those numbers jump up.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes we have people on the waiting list, but when we call them, they're not quite ready.
not quite.
We're not going tomorrow. Give us another month or 2 or whatever. So it doesn't always, just because you have a vacancy doesn't mean you fill it the next day.
Right.
Filling 2 empty beds makes a big difference between
Oh,
profit
yeah.
and loss, really.
Yeah, you're saying 43 is your break even?
Yep.
And that's where you're at now?
We are
Becker?
not.
Yeah.
No, we're not.
No?
We're at 40 right now, I think, because we had some vacancies come up, so.
And like I said, when we started, it was that if we do it 37 beds,
Yeah.
but the costs have gone up that much, and I think we have a good facility. I really feel good about Daphne. I think she does a fabulous job. I mean, she's only been with us 2 months, but I'm impressed. And I think the military might be good to run a rest home. But anyway.
Well, they're not as good as they were now. She left.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I guess what we're asking is if you can find a little extra in we would appreciate it. We would very much appreciate it.
I think, the real challenge is gonna be finding the long-term solution. So this isn't a.
Oh, I don't know I don't know what, I totally agree with you. I don't know what it's gonna be.
But I don't know how you can do it long-term, but
There's
change.
no crystal ball that's gonna show us what we can, because it might get to the point where 45 is gonna be, you gotta break even and you gotta be full all the time.
Yeah.
Because wages aren't gonna go down.
Does it appear to?
Medicare is not gonna take a catapult up for sure.
No. So we've learned a lot, all of us have learned a lot about this Medicare thing. They know exactly what our break even is, and they're 6 months behind getting it to us.
Yeah.
And that's what they
More
are.
like 12 months.
Yeah. I mean, they're just, and so the long-term thing is a commitment by is a commitment by community, do we take care of our elderly? And the cost is just always gonna go up. And so the future is us, and I worry about when these guys are a lot younger, well, he's not, he's pretty old too, but anyway, but when it's our turn to go in, are we gonna have the staff to staff the thing? You know, I mean, I worry about the workforce. I mean, so I can't do anything about 20 years from now, but I know in the next couple of years, we gotta do the best we can while we're here. That's all I know.
Yeah, recruitment's a tough deal.
Well, and you know, where the agencies really aren't regulated, I mean, they can charge almost anything they want.
Yeah, until that day comes,
Right.
we're stuck with it.
Yeah.
We're working on it.
Well, yeah.
KDADS is working on it, but again, it's been since the 90s.
It's a slow process,
Yeah.
very slow. In the meantime, our costs are much higher than what the inflation rate has been. And, so yeah.
What's it cost to go to a nursing school? I mean, from ground zero to a full-blown RN?
Yeah, since there's a couple different tracks, you can become an LPN, that's a 1-year program. So it typically depends on what the school is charging. It's a full-time program, so you're looking at 12 credit hours per semester, 24 altogether. So take that times about $350, times that 12, what is that? Not good at math, I can't do that in my head. But, you know, you're paying for room and board while you're there, so you're looking at anywhere from 10 to 12 for a year. RN program is 2 years, so you double that. And you can do a bachelor's of science in nursing, which is 4 years, and you double that too. So I'd compare and contrast it to my school, but you don't wanna do that, that's the wrong number to do by that, but
Right.
it's pricey, it's pricey.
Yeah.
And it used to be, you know, we started LPN at $27 an hour. We don't do that anymore. It's at least 32 to 33 to even get them to look at you. An RN can start as much as $40 an hour. When I was in high school, 14 years ago, I was a CNA. I worked for minimum wage at $7.25. We start our CNAs at 17.
And the problem you have is the different shifts.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, the $40 an hour doesn't get you the difficult shifts,
Right.
so.
Hmm.
So,
Well, all right, all we can do is scratch our head and try to figure this out.
It's gotta level off at some point. Things are gonna catch up with us. I mean, it's all gotta come to a level head. We just have to wait that out.
And the unfortunate part of it is, can we afford to wait that out? It's, I think we need to look at seeing what we can do to assist you in that endeavor.
I'd really like to, I mean, there's always the immediate needs, but going down the road, there's gotta be a long-term plan.
Yeah, I would totally, but I can't see down the road that far. I just don't know where this thing's gonna go. I know that the long-term thing is everybody's getting older and they all need to go there. Or they should, you know, but how are we gonna take care of them? I mean, I would,
Let's face it, until that facility's paid off, we're getting squeezed. We gotta make this happen. It's gotta work. By whatever means is necessary, it's gotta work.
well, we're getting through it, but I'm just telling you, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's very, very tough. It might even be tougher than $3 corn.
so when you guys do your budget process, we appreciate you guys looking to move that number up, so you're good.
We will
Up
crunch
at St.
them.
Francis, you're the assisted living, nursing homes under one umbrella, right?
Yes.
Is it easier to make it up there than here? Well, what I'm thinking is, okay, we have Wheat Ridge.
So.
If they were under the same umbrella, the same group, would it be easier?
And I wouldn't say that based on what you have under the umbrella is making it easier. What's making it easier is employee culture change. I've been up at St. since February of 2021. We use less than $10,000 a month on agency, and that's only to cover vacations for our staff. So it's just really working and creating an environment where people want to come to work. They feel like they're contributing and they're taking something with them and bringing something home with them. So that takes time to get to that point, but that's kind of my baby, employee culture change. That's what I feel is my biggest selling point as an administrator. So it's gonna take time for us to get there and provide that training to our employees. But once we get there and we get rid of agency, that's gonna a complete 180 in the building and the community, is having our own people in and out of that building, taking care of the elders that took care of us as we grew up. But it's just, we gotta get there. And that's through these CNA classes and recruitment. But it took me over 2 years to get to that point at state.
The good news is our agency staffing has been coming down, so
Yes.
it's still a big number, but it is going the right direction.
Good.
So that's a positive, and we worked on it before she got there, and she's doing a good job even making that better.
No, I think you're spot on. I mean, that's exactly what's gonna have to happen.
We have the people here in the community, we just gotta get them.
Gotta get 'em.
So,
Yep,
keep them here, not Colby, not Burlington, keep them here.
yep. Good. We will hash it out, do what we can, obviously.
Well, we appreciate that.
No promises, but
Oh, I know, but it's just,
But, you know, sometimes, Ron, we have to look ahead, but we gotta be optimistic. You know, we've got a lot of different activities starting to grow in the community again. You know, schoolers spend a
Yeah.
bunch of money and getting theirs going. We got the tire recycle, you know, the beef processing. We've got all these, and again, it's a 2-year commitment to, you know, get on down the road. Are we gonna be able to, some of the people that they bring in for these companies,
well, they
is
bring
the
people for us.
spouse
Yep.
able to look at, you know, going to nursing school or going to CNA or, you know, doing these things to help the community?
Yeah. Well, I believe in Topside. I think it's a good project up there, and it's really good. It just, doggone it, this agency staffing thing.
It's just eating you alive.
It's eating us alive, and you know what, and you guys see the same thing I do. We drive around town and I see people aren't working, and it just drives me crazy. I mean, there's jobs in this town that need to be filled, and we have people, and they are working, and there's nothing I can do about it. But anyway, I'm just getting on the
When I
soapbox, but
came up-
it drives everybody crazy. It drives everybody crazy. There's jobs available. We need those people working.
good jobs used to be coveted by people. It's like, you know, if you could get on with the railroad, the city, the county, the state, Great Western Sugar, if you could land a full-time position, you were the luckiest person on earth. The culture has just totally changed. I don't get it. I'm too old to get it. But I'm with you.
Yeah,
it drives you freaking nuts.
Yeah. So, and we got a great environment up there to work in. We have a great facility. I mean, people should want to, and I know it's a really hard job to take care of the elderly. It's a hard job, but
yeah,
you know, but it's a rewarding job. You're taking care of the people that took care of us. You know, so hopefully we can get them in there, and hopefully Daphne, with her culture, can get things back where we can get some people that live here want to stay here and work. So, but until that time, we need a little help.
Well, we appreciate your consideration.
Yep, thank you.
We know how important, thank you.
Yep, yeah.
That's simple. I will note for the three of you that Home for the Aged is one area in which you were provided specific statutory authority that you have the authorization to make an annual tax levy for maintenance, operation, etc.
Yes.
There you go. That
And it's
helps.
not capped.
And it's not capped.
All of this will be taken into
You guys something to think
consideration.
about.
Yeah.
We got a lot to
Thank you very much. We just want to keep you guys informed, let you know what's happening.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys.
See you.
Yeah, MC.
Okay.
TA.
Okay, I see. Okay, TA.
Thanks, guys.
How do you pronounce that?
McTagg.
McTagg, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Daphne.
Thank you. Holler if you guys have any other questions. I'm around.
Appreciate it.
I was pretty green, I still am.
Do we have to do something with the resolution? Liquor by
Yeah,
the
it's here.
drink? Okay.
We'll get young man from Western Kansas Advocacy Group to come up.
How are we? Good morning.
Good morning.
Running late, I thought, for Thomas, but looks like I was right on time, so. I'm here on time, so.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, gentlemen, appreciate your time, and most, we do appreciate your support. Again, my name is Don, I'm with the Western Kansas Child Advocacy Center. Misplaced my letter.
It's on your file.
Okay, yeah, well, here we are, stumbling around, feel like I'm just rolling down a mountain this morning. Again, my name is Don with the Western Kansas Child Advocacy Center. Let me thank y'all, first and foremost, thank y'all for your time and for your support of our agency. It would be very hard for us to do the work that we do without your support. So just kind of reiterate, recap kind of what we do out here in your community. We are the agency that's the first response after a report has been made of child abuse. We are the agency that coordinates with DCF, law enforcement, any other agencies that are tasked with the safety of children out here in your community as well too. To first and foremost, to kind of, we're the first outlet, I guess you could say, for children out here. We're kind of in a position in the world where children are told not to talk to law enforcement. And it's just been kind of something that's been brewing for a long time. You know, the good thing about our agency is we're not law enforcement. We're the agency with the bus and the toys and the snacks and the therapy dogs, just trying to be there to help these children and see what's kind of been going on and how we can kind of help with coordination with law enforcement. So essentially how we kind of get first set up, the report is made, law enforcement or DCF reach out to us to schedule an interview. That interview is with one of the folks in our office, very well trained, and well, that's the second part of it. First part of it is very kind-hearted individuals that you can kind of tell right off the bat from meeting them, which is very important. These children are kind of struggling with something that's usually pretty dramatic, and unfortunately it's usually something traumatic from somebody they care about. Statistics across the nation are showing us that about 90% of the children that come in our services know this individual or have some sort of relationship with the family or with this child. That's nationwide. Our agency, we're sitting about 97%. So stranger danger is a real thing in the world, unfortunately, but it's not kind of what we're seeing through our doors. So that's why it's most important that we have a very well-trained interviewer on our agency. Someone that knows how to speak with children, knows how to essentially, hey, we're here for you. Let's just tell us your story, tell us what's been going on. And they might not even understand or know that, hey, this is not right, kind of what's been going on. While the interview's being taken place, law enforcement, DCF, and other entities are there on hand as well too to kind of oversee the interview, or if they'd like some more insight on specific events, certain days, hey, let's touch base on that, something that happened right before Christmas kind of deal. So they're able to kind of be in contact with that interviewer as well too. And like I kind of mentioned too, it's very important these children understand first and foremost they did nothing wrong, and they're doing nothing wrong by reporting on somebody that unfortunately they do care about. While the interview is being conducted, we also do have an advocate from our office as well too, paired with the family or with the safe caregiver of that child to kind of see what other resources we can get done. We do stay with the family, coordinating with county attorneys, things like that. Whether it be something as simple as, hey, I just need to get these folks, I need them here on this date, can you help at least facilitate that phone call? They're not answering my calls kind of thing, you know, which I know they have a lot on their plate, so we're able to hopefully jump in for that, maybe schedule a time where we do just a quick mock court, bring children in, hey, this is what court's gonna look like. In any event the child comes to testify, we're able to kind of help facilitate that as well too. Court's scary as an adult, let alone as a child who is in a
Now,
position.
do people contact you you guys directly, or does it have to go through law enforcement?
If they contact us directly, we do ask that they reach out to law enforcement or DCF first. Obviously, it is still something we log and keep on our radar.
Okay.
And then our agency is a mandated reporter as well too. So in the event we have an individual come into our office and they're making a report essentially, we'll take the information, make the report to DCF, and then just get the wheels kind of turning that way. The more services we can kind of have inside a home, the better.
Yeah.
Just in case for some reason down the road, if then maybe there's not enough there for a case. Well, you know what, it's on our radar as well too. That's I'll circle back around to that here later as well too. Then we're also able to provide therapy as well for these children as well too. Therapy's running, it's $200 an hour right now. And we're able to do that for free for these children in our services. And it's very big, especially to lay that groundwork for positive mental health, essentially. A lot of statistics are showing us too that folks that are incarcerated for any sort of substance abuse and addiction, 80% of those folks that have been 80+% of those folks that have been incarcerated are reporting the child abuse in their past. So imagine if we could, have agencies like us back in those, maybe that area, or maybe they did exist, but weren't in essentially in that area where that person was.
Yeah.
Get that therapy in there just to hopefully lay that groundwork. And I think I'm sure I shared that with you last time I was here. We had an adult come back to us last year. She was just struggling. She had just essentially aged out. Came back with with her 2-year-old child to, hey, I just need a quick redirect. Things fell into place. Her therapist that had left the agency for I think 2 years happened to come back, and everything fell into place. That adult was able to at least get that redirect essentially, because she was known to use substance abuse. And that's why we're there. That's why we exist. Hey, I want to be, one of the things she had mentioned. Hey, I want to be better for my 2-year-old daughter. I have this daughter now, but I just need a quick essentially redirect. I just need a refresher. I just need that, which we're able to facilitate. And I think thanks to things fell into place locally, and that therapist has her own practice too, so things kind of just keep going, which is it's nice to see that that full circle kind of okay, just coming back around. We also host out in this area monthly MDTs, so multidisciplinary meetings, team meetings. Essentially, that it's a law enforcement, DCF, folks involved in medical, just a quick roundtable meeting on things that maybe are going on out in the world, maybe cases essentially that might not have kind of gone to trial. There's just kind of a roundtable meeting, just to kind of better way for everyone to kind of keep children safe out in this area, which that says a lot about your community, being proactive. Hey, we're concerned about these children. What can we do? How many services are being provided at that home? Okay, or all of a sudden we see, hey, we had maybe 3 services being into that home throughout the various other agencies in town. Now we're down to 0, but we're seeing reports maybe from the schools that there's something's off. Okay, well let's see what we can do. Do we need to potentially have another interview? What's changed? Something's changed, obviously. So at least to kind of keep things on everyone's radar and have that open table discussion that child abuse is not something we have to hide, it's something we need to address. And that says a lot about you folks out here, that you're willing to address that. Right. Set aside the stigma, I guess you want to call it that. Hey, we need to take care of this. Looks like out in this area last year we're out here for 26 forensic interviews, advocacy 268 times for 43 children, medical exams 4 times. Also, ongoing therapy for 18 children, 186 sessions, and then also then add multiple disciplinary teams. And the biggest blessing, I say, of our agency as well too, we're mobile. We're one of about a handful in the nation that are able to come out, see these children out in these areas. Closest office would be our Colby office, but driving 30 minutes, 30 minutes Colby. Maybe an hour for session, another hour back. That's almost a half day's work. Unfortunately, a lot of our clients we see are single parent families. That can be taxing. I mean, real quick. Multiple children in the home. You push that out. Maybe therapies. Now we're seeing 2 children in that home. That's 2 hours we're in Colby. So what's nice about it is we're able to come out to these areas, maybe park outside of school, park at a park, see these children 30, 45 minutes, whatever time might allow, and then keep everyone kind of essentially on their daily, without interrupting their day. So those mobile units are a godsend. And the medical exams as well too. So we coordinate with local hospital to see if they have a Saint Start program. The Saint Start is the exams for sexual assault. If they have, I believe you folks do have very well established Saint Start program. In the event for some reason nobody's around, if folks aren't there essentially to perform that, our agency is able to do that. So we can kind of step in and fill that gap. That way we can get those services there as quickly as possible for those examinations. One kind of stands out to me, previously I worked with adults who were victims of sexual assault out of Garden. We had one victim come in, unfortunately, and we couldn't find anybody. This is Garden, Gardens, they do a lot of work, but they couldn't find anybody to perform this specific exam. They had to be taken to Dodge. So, I mean, it's just like, wow, it was just disheartening. And it was just one of these deals where things just didn't line up. People were on vacation, folks were no longer there at the hospital, that kind of thing. Lakin wasn't able to facilitate for same reasons, staffing issues, and that's, if you're well aware, so that sounds like it's staffing, it's everyone's kind of struggling across all walks of life, and that individual had to be taken to Dodge. So it's why I'm very proud that we're able to have that for children immediately. Hey, let's get this set up. Okay, hey, Dr. Vitti, our doctor's on staff. Let's get the medical bus going. Let's bring it out, and then we do have a medical examination room on wheels as well too. So they're godsend essentially, and we're one of about a handful in the nation. I think we're the only mobile one here in Kansas as of right now. I think there's folks that are trying, but once you get these RVs up and going, it's just a struggle to keep them running too. So,
Wow. Yeah.
And like I said, I've been with this agency for about a year now. Another case kind of this last year kind of stands out to me where if our advocate and our therapist hadn't been there, court would have been a lot different. We had a gal in our services, just got into services right before COVID. The report was made. The wheels had kind of started turning essentially. COVID happened, world did what it did. Jury trial was pushed out quite a ways. So, and that was the first time kind of me meeting this gal, and unfortunately you cut the tension with a knife when I walked in that room with this gal. Finding out a little bit later, essentially, biological mother had sent her off to go live with grandmother because she wasn't believed. She was told, "You're making problems for me and stepdad, you need to go." So essentially this is the first time we're all in the same room. They're all in the same room, family, who essentially had sided with mother, things like that, and the accused. So she was very on edge, very tense. And I'm listening to her advocate and her therapist do some breathing exercises, kind of walk through things, and then, her advocate, and she's interesting. Her advocate's very interesting. She's the right person for that job. Just hit it right on the head. Hey, this court document brought you here. We're done after today. You get everything off your shoulders you need to get off when you're answering questions, and you're done with this town. You're done. You can go back states away with grandma, live and just live peacefully. Like I said, along with that therapist doing breathing exercises, because I'm honestly just there doing it with her. Cause like, man, I can feel the tension from this gal. It was important to me too to be there. Whenever one of our kids testifying, I do the best I can to kind of coordinate when I'm there. And I have nothing against defense attorneys, but sometimes I feel like we forget that we're speaking to a victim. And it's named on a paper for several years, and I understand that. It'll make sense here in a little bit, but, so we start questioning, our gal's testifying. Questions asked, your dad did X, Y, and Z, or what was your dad's demeanor? And the gal did an amazing job. She stopped. I like him to be referred to by his name. He's not my father, he's not my dad, not my stepdad, he's
Joe Blow.
Exactly. And I was like, oh, this poor gal. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, you know what? His name's on a paper. I doubt it's intentional. I understand. Second time, very aggressive question, in my opinion. Tagline, Dad. I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, that doesn't, okay. And you could see the gal, he was noticeably shaken, and stopped everything. Hey, would you mind referring to him by his name? He's not my father, he's not my dad. Oh, my apologies, and continue questioning. And third time around, aggressive question, same tagline. I'm like, we're trying to upset this little girl. And it aggravated me. I look at the advocates and we all, by this time, we're like, this is not, it's not fair to her at all whatsoever. That gal stopped everything, kind of asked, can you, defense, would you mind repeating his name about 3 times? So we can get out of your system so we can continue questioning. She sat a little higher and I was like, that was worded, and it's a teenager, granted, so it's a roll of dice what words you're getting out sometimes, especially when they're upset, we all would have understood, but, she frazzled defense enough that we had to rest, but I'm just sitting there thinking, like, that's not fair at all whatsoever, and the gal was apologetic, I was disrespectful. No, you set your boundaries, you set them from the very beginning, and I knew that I could kind of see what was going on. I think the other advocates, she was just there answering questions, and I credit a lot to the advocate and the therapist. If they weren't there essentially in that equation, I don't know if that gal would have been able to testify like she did, to be able to be up there and speak about and honestly disclose 2 other incidences that weren't in previous interviews while up there.
Yep.
And everything was, I had seen the interview, that kind of thing, so I barely caught on to that. The other advocates and the other therapists already knew her story, they knew her case well enough. It's like she just disclosed 2 other incidences of things that weren't essentially discussed before. It's like, wow. So I credit the gal first and foremost, and then our advocate and our therapist. They're like, had you guys not walked her through, essentially just get her in the right mind space, I don't know how court would have went. Court goes how court goes, unfortunately, and at the end of the day, that little girl was okay. We kind of sat and spoke with her, and, I commended her. I said, hey, you know what, the words you used were exactly what needed to be said, and not at all disrespectful. Not anything I had put in mind, but I was like, it was straight, direct, and hey, this is how I want to be treated, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, I credit a lot to our advocate, and I credit a lot to that gal as well too, just for sitting a little higher, and it's a lot for these kids sometimes. Happy to report though, she's with grandma, living states away, kind of away from everybody. Essentially the negative things. If things reconcile later, that's up to her essentially. So it's kind of balls in her court. So hopefully.
Very good.
Yeah. Do you have any questions for me by chance?
Not at this time. I know it's a great.
Burton wanted to say something back there.
I just want to voice how important this agency is to my agency and to local law enforcement. I can do the interviews, I've been trained in it. The equipment, probably $5,000 just to do the equipment if I wanted to do it. It's much easier to have someone that's trained in counseling to do the interview. Don't you agree? Someone that's going to testify, it's separated from the case, gets me out of it, or my officers out of it, but it's invaluable, just that part, plus the system is just basically amazing, finding words, cuts down the number of interviews that the child has to go through.
Yep.
Every time they have to relive that in their mind, they're being victimized every time they have to recount and tell someone. So the system is just amazing, and also the counseling, I didn't realize, if I heard you right, 186 sessions?
186 sessions is last year, yes.
Last year. I mean, that's $200 an hour. That's not counting the travel they spend to get here.
Right.
You see their bus all over the place. The other good thing about that is some kids don't disclose right away, so they need to go into therapy. And they go to therapy, and you have someone that's trained in that type of therapy, they can walk them through it without leading them through it.
Yep.
That's the big thing. You don't want to lead the child. You want to allow them to discover how to tell. That's what finding words is about. I advocate every year for increase because we've only, I think, 15,000?
I'm looking right now. 15,000 last year, I think it was 10,000 the year before.
Right, we went up
Yep.
5,000, but
Yeah,
still,
well-
we're, I mean, just for the therapy that they provided, that's $35,000
Yeah.
they provided this community, and a lot of these kids, their parents can't afford it. They can't afford the therapy, and they can't afford the special therapy that they need. So I advocate increasing as much as we can, because like I said, the agency, I've had a partnership with them for close to 20 years and watched them grow into what they are. How many buses you guys running now?
6 on a good day.
If you get them all staffed,
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Yeah,
So.
well, knock on wood, we're staffed, okay, but I put that out in the world and I know how things work when I get back to the office, so we'll see.
But I advocate every year to increase as possible. I thank you for doing that last year, but I think 15,000 is very low compared to what we pay on our pets and animal control and everything else. I mean, our kids are important, and that's what we should be putting our money into.
Well, everybody that comes before us for more money, you know, that's.
Right.
they
No,
all
I
have-
understand that, but.
It's
I
like.
mean,
Well, I think one of the three of you asked the question last year, I think after he left, and the question was, well, you know, what's enough? And I think Burton and I both said, you can't put a dollar.
No, you can't.
The services they provide, I can't, he just touched some of the stuff they do. I mean,
Right.
anything I call Robin, and she just kind of does what I need, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been also doing the best we can to kind of provide more training for law enforcement as well too out of our Scott City office. I know sometimes it's a drive, but I mean, the training's usually worth it. Retired police chief Tremblay, I believe here. Were you around for that one by chance? Tremblay?
What's that?
Tremblay training? It
We've
was
had some do that.
Okay. Essentially, it was free training that we're able to provide through several different grants, through support, like from other agencies, other counties as well too. That it was interviewing for law enforcement, DCF, and other agencies involved, advocates. We had advocates from all over as well too. Free training essentially to help in the interview process. So folks that have kind of gone through some sort of traumatic event, which we were able to do that for free, you know, which is awesome. I mean, it was a pretty great training. I caught bits and pieces of it. I wasn't able to sit as long as I would have, but only that, but extending out. Like it wasn't just law enforcement, DCF. We had advocates from nonprofit, other agencies. We filled our conference room down there in Scott City. It was good to see. It's nice for me to see, especially when I pull into Scott City and I see different counties, agencies, different marked law enforcement cars. I'm like, good. We're getting some training done. We're getting some things. There's some talks that need to be things that need to be talked about. We're getting done. You know, and then providing, you know, even if say it's 2-day training, but if you get two decent ideas out of that training and helps you along down the road to keep serving whatever community you're at, it's worth it. Especially when we're able to provide for free. You know, hey, get them there and hopefully house them and feed them. I know it's training's always taxing too on folks, but I mean it's, you know, not to have to pay for it. So at least that's a big part of it too. Usually that's the biggest chunk of that puzzle is paying for whatever training's going on. So.
Yep. No. Appreciate what you guys do. We will do what we can, for sure.
And I'll leave this letter here with you folks as well too. It has those same statistics. Words today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate your support.
All right, thank you.
See you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Okay, we have a resolution come before the commission of individual or alcohol, liquor by the individual drink that should be proposed in the election, the general election on November the 5th. Resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of Sherman County, the purpose of the Sherman County to make the decision to allow or disallow the sale of alcohol of individual drinks. And the vote, it says, shall the alcohol, liquor by the individual drink in Sherman County be allowed in public places without requirements of any portion of their gross receipts from food sales. So that's the proposed resolution.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 24-8.
Okay.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded, we adopt resolution 24-8. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is passed.
This is a letter from the Department of Wildlife and Parks, from Dave Spalsbury specifically. It says, this letter is to inform you of upcoming changes to our contract, meaning the CFAP contract. Due to recent budget cuts in our CFAP program, you will no longer be receiving the minimum payment of $1,030. This change will not take place until after December 31st of 2024. A formal notification will be sent in October. Since you will not be receiving payment, you will no longer be responsible for reporting your expenditures twice a year. By maintaining the current MOU with KDWP, these changes will not take away individual benefits that you are already receiving through the program. I'm just trying to hit the highlights here. The CFAP program was initiated about 20 years ago to reduce barriers by anglers by removing permit fees and incentivizing cooperators to improve their fisheries and angler facilities. To date, the CFAP program has provided millions of dollars to Kansas communities and has created popular fisheries all over the state. While we realize that cutting this payment may hinder your ability to provide anglers the best possible experience, we hope that you choose to continue our relationship that it provided by the MOU. By continuing to work together, we can provide anglers an opportunity to enjoy the great outdoors and make lasting memories with their family and friends. So, not great news, but it is what it is.
It is what it is, yes.
So,
This is a letter from High Plains, and it's a funding request from our county of $39,439.18 for 2025, beginning January 1st. And in there it shows how the method, how they came up with that, and also other data.
I have one here from the Northwest, or the Homestead Nutrition Project, and they're more or less a request for $9,800 for the meal, assistance with meals, raw food, meal supplies, delivery, Canarero delivery and everything. And it's showing for, again, $9,852.
this is a letter from High Plains Mental Health, kind of a follow-up letter requesting county funding of $39,439.18. See, more money, but it's all these organizations are you know, their backs against the wall. They need the money. They need the help.
Is that the same letter?
I think it is.
Yeah, might be, but that's just the gist of it. Everybody needs money to keep the services going.
And we have one from the North Central Regional Planning Commission, and they're just more or less the program launch of May 28th for the assistance for renovations or destruction of dilapidated properties. And just reiterating the launch of the program as of the 28th.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anything else that needs to be brought forward at this time?
I believe so.
They will, ADP will send a different contract for this. So. No other business, I ask for a motion for adjournment.
Well, hold up. On new business, you guys are touring the storage facility on the fairgrounds, is that still happening?
Not the fairgrounds. today.
Fairgrounds not today because of the tech colleges out there.
Okay, what about the storage facility?
It's up to you guys if you wanna do tours all at once or not at all.
I just toured it all at once.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Just do it all.
Then you can adjourn, otherwise you would have
Right.
to recess.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Then moved and secondly adjourned, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose same sign, motion passed, meeting's adjourned. Thank you, Jim.